Good morning and welcome to the Centers for Spiritual Living, Midtown Atlanta. Such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. And you are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. We're glad you're here this morning. We've got some great things going on, and I'd like you to share this with your friends. If you're out on social media, please do that so that we can spread who we are and what we got going on with everybody, especially if you've been here for a while and like what we've got going on. And with that, um, we know who you are. Whoever you are, wherever you came from, however you got here, you're welcome. This is a welcoming center for everyone. And with that, I'd like to share a little of our declaration of principles as shared by Ernest Holmes, our founder.
A few of the declaration of principles we live by.
I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding.
I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
So grateful.
So this morning we have a wonderful practitioner to share some good ideas in an affirmative prayer. Practitioner is someone who's demonstrated the ability to use spiritual practice and spiritual laws. They've demonstrated that they know how to bring these changes about for others when asked. Licensed by Centers for Spiritual Living, they are available to provide you with spiritual guidance and support in those areas where you're looking for assistance. And you can contact them through our website, cslmidtown.org. And now we have the wonderful Miss Norma Roberts. Thanks.
Thank you, Vance, and good morning to all. I'm happy to be here with you today. I send my blessings to everyone within the sound of my voice. This is a new year, a new day. Time to get ready for the good that God has in store for you. A new day is a promise, a reminder that we do not have to carry forward the past of what went before into this day. We can choose within the rising sun to rise into the newness of life. That is the beauty of being human, the beauty of being creators. We can start imagining more and open the door to a year full of faith and possibility. Our global theme is choosing possibility and offers 3 possible points to think about. First, choosing possibility is not always our default mindset. It often requires conscious effort. To shift our thinking, we need to use affirmations such as, there's possibility here, or I am possibility. This repetition impresses our consciousness and helps us embody the potential we wish to find, we wish to see. That's just one. The second point of view they have is, remember, much of our thinking and believing operates on autopilot. That is, we just think. It just comes up. But we have a choice. We have a choice to create meaningful change. We must take responsibility for moving beyond these default thoughts that perpetrate our current reality. If we're experiencing something that we really don't like, we have a choice. We can change it. Instead, we can impress both ourselves and the creative law of life with the truth of what is possible. And the next thought is, Let's embrace our spiritual lives with a sense of playfulness. Don't get caught up in it. What might we co-create with the spirit of love and law of life? There's no fixed answer to that. But instead, we're invited to play and see what unfolds if we do. Stretch beyond the familiar and venture into the unknown. This is about opening ourselves to the limitless potential that comes from trusting in the expansive power of spirit and the law. I always say, God has a plan, and it's in full operation now. And now let's move into a treatment, after which we will have music for reflection. So join with me as we begin our treatment. Accept whatever you can relate with or you can relate to, and just let go anything else. As together we know, God, Spirit, is all and has no opposite and no opposition. It is the one intelligence, one presence, one power, and one action in all, through all, as all. It created me out of itself to experience all the good that it is. As spirit personalized, I choose to accept myself as complete, powerful, and all-sufficient. My work, finances, relationships, and body are the perfect manifestations of perfect intelligence. I deny the power of self-doubt and affirm that self-trust is expanding in my life. Each and every day in consciousness, I stretch into new and greater possibility than the day before. So right now, I affirm I am imbued with life, vitality, power, freedom, unlimited abundance, and great peace. Separation is an illusion, and I now declare in all aspects of my life, I am whole, perfect, and complete. I am spiritually mature. And I now live from the consciousness of oneness with God and oneness with all of its qualities. The truth of who I am dissolves forever any mental patterns which do not reflect my God nature, as well as any effects of such pattern. It is with great thanks I expect and accept an ever increasing awareness of the omnipresence of God. My good is of God and it expands forever as success, health, wealth, and fulfilling loving relationships. I now release this word to the law that responds by corresponding, and I declare it is so now. As together we say, and so it is.
So this morning we have with us Reverend James Peake. James is an advocate for practicing kindness and living as the presence of unconditional love, as this leads to a powerful, creative, and joy-filled life experience. He's an ordained CSL minister serving as a senior minister of the local community, teaches CSL online program, and he's a director of information technology at the CSL home office. He has a bachelor's degree in management information systems from the University of Phoenix and a master's in consciousness studies from the Holmes Institute. He enjoys living among the pines in the foothills of the Rockies with his son, his granddog, along with hiking and golfing. Here is Reverend James. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you this morning to a hopefully going to be a uplifting, enlightening, and fun 20 minutes or so. The theme for CSL this year is Rising Higher, Growing Deeper, kind of building upon last year's theme. But we're going to stretch ourselves to the sky, so to speak, as we deepen in these spiritual principles. And this month, stretching into possibility is the theme, and the talk for this week is consciously choosing possibility. So I really want to thank you all for being willing to tune in, to listen to whatever happens to come out of the old pie hole here. Hopefully it's something that's a little enlightening or helpful. The ability to listen, though, is something I think we're really starting to maybe have a challenge with in society. And it's really a powerful skill. It reminds me of the time that Father O'Leary went to the movies, and he walked around the theater. He couldn't find a seat, and then he noticed one over in the corner. And so he went over and he asked the woman sitting next to the seat, the empty seat. He said, "Is this seat saved?" And she said, "No, but it's willing to listen." And so on that note, speaking of the movies, the beauty of going to the movies, whether it's reading books or a TV show, when we're in that fictional world, it can be really, really amazing. That we are asked to, suspend reality, if you will. It's to say that, no, I'm going to go into this alternate world, whether it's an alternate universe or just, a storyline or whatever it may be, but to suspend reality and dive into that fictional universe, effectively become one with the story. And what's going on there, you may have never thought of this, but when we go to the movies in particular, you go in and you sit there and you really become one with the story, right? Everything else drops away. Not thinking about the things I have to do tomorrow or what I should have done yesterday or who likes me and who doesn't like me or any of that chatter that the ego loves to have. But it all falls away. And so we're one with the story. And it really is this ego-free zone, which is why we'd love to go to the movies, because we're really, truly present. We're truly present with our true nature, because that voice in our head, that ego that thinks that we're separate, is no longer there. And this ability to suspend reality and dive into the story is actually a skill. That's right. Going to the movies is a skill, believe it or not. And it's a skill that we can use on our own spiritual awakening. Probably never thought of it that way. But this morning, we're going to take a look at that. So how do we use this skill in spiritual awakening? Awakening to our true essence, to who we are, and being able to live as that true essence. There are a few challenges. And of course, the biggest challenge in spiritual awakening is that we tend to live life like an ongoing rerun, like some old show that wasn't any good. They just keep putting it on. And we're taught and conditioned by life itself, by society, by our parents, by our media, and these days social media, which is everywhere, is trying to get us to buy into a fictionalized version of life itself. Falsehoods such as we're separate from God, or life, universe, whatever word works for you. We're separate from each other, another falsehood. For if there's one life, we must all be of this one life. So there is no separation. We can certainly have that experience, and the ego really will build on that, try and pound that belief into us. But other ideas like we're only human, how often have we heard that? Like, I'm only human. And then the idea that we need to really be careful in life. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of things can go wrong. You better protect your heart. And all of these false beliefs, all of these ideas tend to condition us and ultimately lull us to sleep. And maybe for some of us, it may have happened when we were younger, maybe as we're growing up as teens or even adults, but we fall asleep to our true nature. We totally forget who and what we are. And there's some really nasty effects from this because it's the world of cause and effect, right? The result of the belief in separation really allows the ego to run the show. It's like that voice, that intuitive voice, that spiritual voice becomes muted to the point where we really start to identify or think that we're separate from everyone. We're separate from life. And we got to figure it out on our own, that there's no way out. It's really a script written by the ego of fear and deception. And it's really under the guise that it wants control, right? It wants to control our lives, tell us what to do, how to do it, if we're any good. And it can be absolutely maddening. So a little story. When I graduated from ministerial school in 2010, one of my instructors toward the end of the program was Reverend Dr. Kristen Hawkins, who was the founding minister and at the time still senior minister of a center in Long Beach, California. And at the end of class, she asked me what I was planning on doing in ministry. And I said, well, I'm probably going to look to start a small center in the Phoenix area. It was underserved, not a lot of new thought centers for the population of the city itself. There was a big Unity Center and New Vision Center, but for the most part, it was an underserved community. And she said, well, I'd like to have a conversation about you coming out to Namaste, which is the center she was at. Long story short, we had a long conversation. They made me an offer, and I was debating whether I should go or not. And I was really leaning toward going, and I talked to my family about it, my wife and son at the time, and they were pretty well on board, even though we were going to be leaving all of our family and friends in Phoenix to move out to Southern California. And then that ego voice started to chatter and said, what are you, crazy? You're crazy to move. You don't know anyone. Have you thought about the taxes and the traffic? The cost of living is crazy in California. You're not going to find your people. They're all crazy. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Recognizing its ego, chitter chatter, blah, 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 trying to sell me a false narrative. But then over time, it's kind of like everybody got on board. Now, I don't know if they're picking up on the consciousness, right? But I started to hear the same thing from my parents, my in-laws. Everybody was kind of on board with the same chatter. And so I'm really decided, I'm leaning towards staying in Arizona and starting a center there. And as soon as I had that thought, that ego voice jumps in and says, what are you, crazy? This is a great opportunity. You got to move. You got to go out there. You can learn from a powerful minister, spread your wings, find your new path in ministry. And that's when I realized, I just got to go with, what's Spirit's guidance? What's the heart asking of me? Because this ego chatter is just playing a mindless, crazy game. It's trying to spin a fictional tale that makes no sense. That's one of the challenges of this conditioning that we have by just living our lives. It's in and all around us. And then this idea that we're only human tends to put a limit on what we think we can manifest, what we think we can create, who we are. And if we don't counter that and push that idea away, we tend to leads into a sense of sameness or powerlessness or just the general blah, blah, blah. Life goes on, and there's very few things that are certain other than death and taxes. It's just, it's not a joyful experience. But the truth is that this human experience is so rich. Sure, there's sorrow, there's grief, but there's joy, there's amazing love, there's passion, there's energy. There can be sadness, but all of it's a rich experience. And then if you really think about it, how the heck does Spirit create everything, let alone these human bodies that we inhabit? It's truly amazing that we are of this one life. And so to say that we're only human really is doing us a disservice. And then this last piece where, this idea that we need to be careful in life, protect our heart, it really makes it impossible to be unconditionally loved. It really makes it impossible to be unconditionally loved. Because if I can't let you in, if I have to trust you before I'm even willing to let you in, I've already created an energetic barrier. I can only be loved to the depth of my openness and willingness to be seen and heard. And when I'm unable to do that on a consistent basis, it's a vicious cycle. My heart opens, my heart closes, my heart opens, my heart closes. And don't we all just strive really and want to have that experience of being in this field of love? But when it's opening and closing, it really makes it impossible to sense the spiritual heart that's actually deeper, that's eternal. It's not a heart that opens and closes. It's just this unconditional love of the divine that's always there, in and through and as us. We are it. So how do we shift all this stuff? How do we get out of the mold and create a new story, create a new movie, give up the rerun? Now, Star Trek fans know that resistance is futile, so we might as well just go ahead and dive in, right? So we have to come up with a new script. So we have to recognize it's a new day and we're going to follow it in a new way. And understand that all those false beliefs, all that BS, if you will, they're just thoughts. They're not who you and I are, right? They're just ideas. They're just thoughts. So take a moment just to give you an idea how this works. Just imagine in your imagination a taco platter. I happen to be a huge fan of tacos, but just imagine a taco platter. It could look like anything, but just imagine that taco platter in your mind's eye, in your imagination. Now, would you say that you are that taco platter? You may want the taco platter, but would you say you are the taco platter? Of course not. No way you're the taco platter. But yet we believe other thoughts that pop through our consciousness, right? I'm not good enough. Oh, that can't happen for me. I never make the right choice. I'm unlovable. So why do we believe those thoughts? Because they're not who we are either. Well, the next time that those thoughts start to pop in, just remember, it's just a taco platter. We can let it go. And we can allow for a new story to begin to come forward, a story of empowerment, a story that's based in spiritual principle, a story that recognizes the creative process at flow at all times is part of life itself. You know, the teaching symbol in Science of Mind, if you're familiar with it, it's a circle with the V, and at the top, we have the source. We have the origination of thought. And then, of course, it drops down through the medium known as the law. And the law is just kind of always at work, 365, 24/7, doing its thing. And it brings forth then the manifestations and the demonstrations into this physical realm. And so if we anchor more in that idea and these other ideas that, our egoic separate mind wants to chatter, we then can begin to move forward in a more powerful way and feel the support of spirit itself. Because ultimately we are it. But until the time that we recognize and we are living as spirit, we can still have that sense of the support of spirit as we move forward. And just, again, stay anchored in that idea that the law is operating 365, 24/7. Although every now and then 366, right? But, So now we've got the new script, we got the show going. We want to make it a hit, right? So we're going to anchor in these new truths. We want to have this new show a hit, right? We're not looking to create just another blah, blah, blah story. And so the key is to stay awake. How do we stay awake? Stay awake to the truth of who we are, what life really is, and how it really works. Well, one, of course, is spiritual practices, which I know a number of us do on a regular basis. Things such as meditation, journaling, self-inquiry is very powerful. Why do I believe that? Where'd that thought come from? We'd be willing to dig deep within our own consciousness, uncover that root false belief and let it go. And if we're having some challenges, of course, it can be very helpful to sit with a practitioner, maybe in a spiritual guidance session where the practitioner can help us unroot it and know the truth for us. But also joyful practices, things that bring us joy. What brings you joy in your life? Because that joy is that connective empowerment of spirit, having fun as you. And so for me, I like to listen to music, connecting with friends, going hiking. I wouldn't say golf is a joyful practice, except for maybe 2 holes every time, because if you're a golfer, you know what I'm saying. It's mostly a challenge. But also another piece that is really important, I think, to staying awake is to open a new savings account. I call it the demonstration account, the demonstration deposit account. So when you do manifest a change in your life or something happens that shows up that's positive for you, that shows a reflection of the faith you've had, a reflection of using these principles. You deposit that into this demonstration bank so that when times get challenging, or there might be the lull, maybe of the ego, you can't believe that. Oh, yeah, this science of mind stuff doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. You can make a withdrawal out of that bank and say, no, this is really what's going on. So where does this all lead? If we've got this hit show, what's the ultimate effect of it? Well, it's really, we're just living as our true essence. We've let go of the egoic thoughts. We follow the whispers of spirit, our intuition. We're really more clear on what our heart is desiring. What's our soul call, if you will? It opens the door to even more hit shows, more scripts. It's the world of infinite possibilities, whether we call it the source, the Godhead, first cause, quantum field. The words and the label doesn't really matter. It is what it is. It's the field of infinite possibilities for our lives. And as we allow the flow of life to move in and through and as us, we allow this infinite realm, these infinite possibilities, then to be available and to show up. And ultimately, we live as spirit with the integrity of the most high mind in alignment with truth. We truly are rising higher and growing deeper. So the invitation this week is to pick an area of your life that you would like to see a shift and begin to write that new script. And just remember, you are the writer, producer, director, and actor of your own life. So it is. Please join me in moving into prayer. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And what I'm present to is this idea of an infinite field of possibilities. That life, the one God, universe, spirit, creates out of itself without diminishing itself. It is eternal. It is infinite. It is nearly impossible for us in our human experience to fathom the power, the strength, the organizing ability, the divine depths of the love life must have for itself. But yet we recognize that there is this one life and that we must be born of it. We must be not just connected to it, but we are it. All the words that we use to describe life, God, spirit, are inherently who we are. And I know as we move forward this day, next week, and through all our years, that to the degree that we are open to recognizing, allowing, and understanding that we are this spirit incarnated in human form, that we reflect that spirit, that we move with the presence of spirit, of the divine love that life is. We have the power to shift our experience, to manifest the heart's desire and our soul's call. And by our very presence, by very simply showing up as spirit, as love, as unconditional acceptance, that we demonstrate for others a way of being in the world that allows fear to fall away, that allows falsehoods to die, allows truth to emerge, the truth that we are ultimately one. And I just give thanks this day for having had this moment in time here now to remember the truth for each of us, the truth of what life is. And I give thanks for the law that, again, is constantly working, constantly saying yes, yes, yes to life itself, bringing forth the manifestations of the one mind. And so at this point, we can simply let this treatment go into that law, into life. We need do nothing except move forward in faith and peace and love. And we declare that this is the truth by simply saying, and so it is. Namaste.
So it is. Thank you, Reverend James, for a wonderful talk this morning. And with that, we enter into our time for abundant giving. And with that, you can donate online at cslmidtown.org/donate. And as our affirmation of prosperity comes up, you can scan the QR code, which will take you right to the site to do the donations. You can do a one-time donation or set up an ongoing giving donation to support us in bringing you all these wonderful speakers that we have each and every week. So if you will now with me say, I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. And all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And now I got a couple of announcements. Next week, February 2nd, the first week in February, we will be in person with the Reverend Dr. John Karn. The title to that is, the official message for that week from CSL is the wonder of interbeing. I know John's busy working on something interesting to go along that theme. Keep in mind that the first Sunday in March will be our annual meeting. So put that on your calendar, come visit, be with us, see what's going on, what we've got going on. And every week we have, before the service at 10 o'clock, our study group, they're going through the text of the Science of Mind textbook, having a discussion group on that. So you can always join that on the Zoom. Go to cslmidtown.org and scroll down to the Zoom section, click that with the code, and you can do that. Same thing to go to the after service discussion, which is right after this. So we'll have Dr. James over there discussing what he talked about, anything anybody wants to talk about related to what he said. And there was a lot going on there to unpack. So we have these wonderful speakers every week. We appreciate you being here and listening, whether it's now or later. And with that, let's say our affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful to the spirit of life that lives through me. So it is. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome week, and join us on the discussion.